All right, I had a great chance yesterday to catch up with BYU defensive tackles coach Sione Po'uha. Had a lot of good questions I wanted to ask him about the interior defensive line play, and in particular, guys like Keanu Tanuvasa, John Taumoepeau. What is Justin Kirkland's role? Because he didn't play against Iowa State. So we asked him all those questions and more. Without further ado, here's that conversation. You're going to hear it here, right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.
Got some really tough opponents upcoming, obviously led by Texas Tech, some of these physical run games that come in the Big 12. What's been the biggest difference you feel like in terms of your guys' ability to slow down opposing rushing attacks?
I think just first, just being sound in our, being assignment sound, and really just trying to win our 111, like Kalani had mentioned before, right? And so just really just trying to be, and in those situations, right, it's all about centimeters, right? You don't have foot or have a foot, so we're really trying to be really exact in details in our execution of, what our assignments are for the specific defense. So for us, it's just being super sound, being super detailed, and not really getting bored with it over the weeks, right? And so for us, it's really just perfecting that craft in terms of just the details of it.
There's a former offensive lineman who played here, and he always liked to talk about, he's a guard. He's like, we're playing in a phone book, essentially. Yeah. And it's like it's two 300-pound guys, and you have about the space of a 6x6 box. Yeah. How difficult can that be? Because you mentioned the centimeters thing, because it's really tight quarters.
I think it's difficult for other people because they don't play in a phone booth, right? And I don't even know if this generation knows what a phone booth looks like, right?
Fair.
But, for other people, it might be hard for them because there's not really a lot of space. For us, it's kind of like, it's kind of our expertise. Yeah. Like we know how to kind of work in that type of, 3x3 box type of deal. So for us, it's really just part of our craft. It's what we do. It's how we work. And so for us, it's something that we try to pride ourselves in and being very good in such a short space and in such a short time. If that makes sense. And so for others, it might seem like something difficult, but for us, it's all we know.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about Keanu. How has he come along so far? What have you been most impressed with him?
Yeah, just impressed about everything, just about who he is and how he's developed as a person. Yeah. And that affects him, our room, affects the defense, affects the whole team. So just to see him just blossom in who he is has been really impressive.
What's made him stand out in terms of his on-field play?
Just his ability to kind of merge into the defense, right, and really understand it, and then just kind of be himself within the defense. And so his ability to be able to adapt really fast. But I think that's more in part of just his humility, which is one of our core values, right? For his ability just to come in and say, hey, I know a lot, but I don't know enough. I know, Coach, you have some for me. So his ability just to be able to take information, really just search out for it, right? And so he'll text me, at night and ask me a question about a play that he's seen at practice, and so his willingness to learn and be a student probably is his biggest asset.
What's Justin Kirkland been like so far? I know he was slow getting into playing time, but what's he been like so far for you guys?
He's been good, man. Solid guy in the middle, right? Been able to develop. He had the injury a little bit earlier, so we use him when we need to use him, and so his ability just to come in and be that big body and big presence in the middle has been impressive.
His experience in the Big 12, does that help?
Yeah, I think any experience, if it's good experience, and if any experience in the Big 12 is good, and especially playing in P4 programs is good if you use it for your benefit, if it helps you become a better player. So for him, his ability to be able to contribute the way he has, he's been able to use that. Some people can say, I played in Big, I've been here, I've done that, got the T-shirt. But it's not the case with him. He's still coming in with the same mentality as Keanu. He came from a Big 12 program, Big 12, Pac-12 program. But for them to come in just with their humility and ability just to want to continue to learn and grow, that's what helps them become, more of who they are and need to be in this defense.
John Taumoepeau has kind of been the unsung hero, it feels like. What's made him stand out in your mind?
Yeah, again, same thing with him. Yeah. Those three have just been students, and students above what you would think a normal senior would be. Okay. They're acting like freshmen when they seek out, and not only when they seek out coaching, but when they receive coaching, right? I mean, you see them in their books, writing things down, taking a note, and really when they come out here and they cross the lines, because you can't cross the line as a coach, but when they go in and you see the product of how they behave and how they execute, and you see that the things you're trying to teach them as a coach is being implemented, those three do that very, very well. And it's a great lesson for all the younger guys to know that, hey, I've got guys that has been from big programs, that made big time plays, guys that are seniors now, and that's how you learn. And that's how you not stop learning when it comes to football.
Nisi Purcell wasn't on the depth chart this week. What is his role? Like, what is it going to look like for him?
Yeah, so for Anisi, going into this week, he had a hand issue, and so he's just taking care of that a little bit. We're just modifying some things for him, but he continues to develop in his own way.
Looking at Texas Tech, huge game. First time BYU's played a top 10 opponent as a top 10 ranked team.
Yep.
Do you guys feel kind of the enormity of this game in a way?
Well, we know that's kind of the surrounding thing. It's kind of like the Utah game, right? But just a little bit more different optics that's around it. And so, as a player, as a former player and as a coach, what we try to do is really just say, okay, let's try to keep the main things, which is what we've been doing. Just becoming the best version of ourselves, trying to execute and be who we are and become a better us, if that makes sense. And so for us, it's just doubling down on those things, right? The optics and the decorations around it are going to be there, and it's super exciting, right? It's super exciting. It's good to acknowledge it, but not to base your play off of it, if that makes sense, and not have that be a driver for you. What we've done has got us to where we are, and so we're going to continue to just keep being a better BYU.
What do you make of Texas Tech as a whole?
Yeah, great team, man. Yeah. Great team. Offense and defense, their ability to execute, just the culture that they have, right? Really good team. And so you can see them kind of like us, right? Yeah. People who really relish in their culture and who they are. And so it's just really been awesome to be able to see them on their journey, see them on them playing their games and executing and really taking over games. Really, really impressive. But that's just because they've bought into who they are. They know who they are, and it's great to see them play.
Second half last week, their running game really came to life. How difficult can that be to slow down a big physical offensive line and two running backs who can really bring it?
Yeah, again, it's just all about execution, right? Yeah. If you, especially with the guys inside, if you miss by a centimeter, they'll exploit it. That's why they're really good, is they know that when you're off a centimeter, that's all they really need. Is to be able to be. So for us, is being able to play sound technical football and assignment sound football.
You obviously played at a high level, both in college and the NFL. How much do you feel like your experience can translate to helping guys understand, like, hey, in game, this is what you need to focus on?
My experience as a player is only as useful as I can connect it with my players, right? It can't be back in the day type coaching type of deal. But if I can transfer the things that I've known in the right dose amount, right? Playing a lot of football, like in the right dose amount, at the right time, at the right moment when the player is able to take that in and really to use it, that's when that's useful. But if it's a time for story time of coaches' good old playing days, right, and it doesn't do them any good, right, you bore them, but it's really taking that and what really transfers into the players. That's what counts.
Balancing the Uncle Rico with the here and now, right?
Yeah. I try to put that all behind. That's why, like in my office, our players are like, Coach, you don't have no pictures of you playing. I'm like, because it's not about me, it's about you, right? I'm a teacher, right? I'm a teacher, and so as a teacher, I got to be able to use that and be able to help them be better and elevate their play.
I also want to ask about your son. Obviously, he's playing defensive end, but he's still there on the defensive line. What have you made of Billy and what he's done so far?
Man, Coach Anderson and Coach Papinga have done a great job, and being able to teach him the game of football. Like I've said many times, I try to do my best to play the dad position, right? He's going to have 25 coaches. He got one dad, so I might as well just play my role and make sure I'm there for pizza money and for gas money. But every once in a while, he asks me different questions, and I sing the same hymn as Coach K-Pop and Coach Anderson, and so he's just been developing and doing his deal, and I'm super proud of him.
There you have it. A big thank you to Sione Po'uha for taking the time to join us here on the show. And you heard him talk about Nisi Purcell dealing with a hand injury. And if you saw the initial player availability report that came out last night, Nisi Purcell is out for this week's game. So obviously losing a rotation piece on the interior defensive line, that hurts. But it was also interesting to hear him talk about using Justin Kirkland strategically. He had a very slow start in terms of his time arriving in Provo and dealing with a lingering knee issue that bled into the season. So I can think that this week you're probably going to see Justin Kirkland out there on the field trying to hold down the fort to help BYU's interior hold up against a very, very strong rushing attack, just an overall strong offense for Texas Tech. But good thoughts from Sione Po'uha, and cool to hear him talk about his son and how he has to kind of put that dad hat on versus the coaching hat. But even when his son wants the advice, his players want the advice as well. Interesting to hear him how he both doles out the wisdom from his many, many years playing at an extremely high level, because any of you who know anything about Sione Po'uha's play, both at Utah and in the NFL, mainly for the New York Jets, know that he was an absolute animal. And I use that term lovingly because he was phenomenal playing for the Utes and in the NFL, and he has a lot of wisdom to dispense, but I appreciate the way that he goes about dispensing it, because as he mentioned, he doesn't want to be a total Uncle Rico and be like, well, back in my day. No, he says it's about the guys here and now, and he wants to be a teacher, and I really appreciate that mindset and his philosophy on that also. As always, once again, big thank you to Sione Po'uha, as well as BYU Athletic Communications for arranging said interview. Always good to catch up with players and coaches and let you guys hear those chats right here on Locked On Cougars.